Righto, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the week again. Actually, a little bit of exciting news. As this podcast is coming out, it's Friday night. Finke Scrutineering is going on, so we thought we would do something just a little bit special and drop a bit of a extra Finke special with the one, the only, the original Finke Hellman, Beau Robinson. As always, though, I'm here with my co-host, Danny Curran. How you going, DC?
Yeah, man, I'm good. We've done a sneaky 2,600 Ks, but Beau was just telling us that's nothing on the big scheme of things compared to WA. He's done a few kilometres himself, so this is one of those races where everyone's just excited to come, aren't they, Beau? It's one of those things that, man, we live and breathe it. I know everyone says that, but Finke is one of those races, man. There's old ladies in your poon that know about the Finke Desert Race, and I love that.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, boys. Yeah, no, it's good, isn't it? Finke's always a exciting time of year, and it's always as they always say up here, it's sort of you almost measure your years by Finke down.
And don't count down to Christmas, count down to Finke. Absolutely.
Yeah, it really does feel like that.
Well, mate, let's kick it straight into gear with the big conversation starter. Mate, it's been a bigger year than most for you and the 413 because you're not racing the guys of this year.
No, yeah, we've got the new Mason here, luckily, or finally, I should say, more so than luckily. Yeah, that's been a long time coming. With that sort of probably been about like almost a 2-year project, realistically. Met the Mason boys years ago, I guess now, before COVID and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, just sort of was in the market for a new one. And yeah, I guess, got along with Neil and Rob pretty well. So it was, yeah, that's where we're at.
Well, it's interesting because they're one of the real innovators. We've talked about a few times on this podcast, haven't we, Josh? And what they're doing now is absolutely amazing because I'm sure you remember, because you've been around off-road racing longer than we have, is the fact that, they were racing those 7200 cars back in the day, the V6 trucks. They were mini trucks in those days.
Yep.
Again, I've said this on the podcast, so I hope they don't come and punch me in the face. But back in those days, they were stick-welded chassis. They were quite rudimental shed-built trucks, and now they are building the best of the best. They are like, no one would argue that. Even there's all competition, but as far as the top of the chain is, Masons are running there now.
Yeah, they're having a big crack at the moment, aren't they? It's craziness. I remember about, I don't know, I want to say it probably was 10 years ago. Tenbrook was here, Todd was over here, and maybe 9 years ago, and he said to me at the time, him and Neil are pretty close, and they said to me at the time, "Oh, if you're going to do something, that's where you want to start looking." That was way back.
Well, that would have been originally when you first got the geyser.
Almost on that year, or maybe the year after that actually. And he was like, "Yeah, you watch," and I was like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And then sure enough, bit by bit, and he kept sort of texting me, And but I spoke to everyone. I spoke to Vance, obviously Rick. Like Rick's been really good to us, and obviously that truck's been the geyser truck was obviously a it's a weapon, but just one of those things. I don't know, just sort of feel like something a little bit different, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's tough because, again, another chat that we've had and that I really see is because it blows me away. These new trucks, you see them running through those whoops at Mint and Baja and that. Like the geysers do it. And I mean, hey, let's say with the new info, old Rob Mack just won again in a two-wheel drive geyser. And to see people write that sort of stuff off, but really it's more than just the race truck. But I will say that when you see, say, a Mason or a Terrible Herbst or one of those go through those really big things, the way they go through now, they look flat, they look planted. Like it was only 5 or 6 years ago, those guys looked like, even Robbie Gordon, he's a hero, but his truck looks wild it's fast, but it's wild, you know? So it's interesting because these Masons now, you look at the McMillan's trucks and that, they look like they're just driving through these 4-foot holes, and they're doing 130 mile an hour? It's insanity. So I'm a big fan. But so tell us how you get to, because this is the bit that interests me the most. So you had the geyser. There was a few. Do you want to get into the conversation about? Well, let's talk about. So to give you the prefix, if you're listening along at home, this man only got this Mason truck about 4 o'clock yesterday morning. It's now Thursday in Alice Springs. They got it on Wednesday, right before the race. And there was a period of time where you didn't think it was coming, did you?
No, the truck was actually supposed to leave the US literally 3 to 3.5 months ago. Got delivered. The boys at Mason met the deadline. Everything was sweet on their end. Absolutely perfect, in fact, if not earlier than they should have been. And then they got delivered to the freight forwarder, and they just stuffed us around galore. And then it ended up having to get flown in. It's just I don't even know where to begin. Like every week it was just another story. Like beyond me how I even let it happen. But you get 3-4 weeks in and you think we're already a month deep. Like what's another week? And then all of a sudden it just turned into craziness. But we got pretty grumpy about 4 weeks ago, and they got their shit together. Yeah.
So I've got my head around it. So you say, and it was a couple like before. So was it originally coming on a boat?
Nah, sorry, it was always
coming air freight, right?
But we were trying to get it to we were actually trying to get it to St. George. We thought we might be able to push that and then get some time in it. Then obviously we thought, we'll get it to Mildura or Punkerry, but I just wanted to obviously get some time in it, you know. It was obviously the biggest thing, but anyway, it is what it is. But it's here, it's good, and luckily the boys did a good job on it. You know, like there's nothing. I mean, we've done some bits and pieces, but that's nothing to do with the Mason boys. It's good.
So, any testing in in America before it left?
Luke McMillan tested it for us.
Pretty handy.
Yeah, that was good. So that that worked out well. And Duncan actually was in with him. So yeah.
Oh no.
Sort of
the enemy.
Yeah, that's right. No, it was good. So those boys were all pretty good, and everyone was pretty helpful. And there was no drama on that end. It was all looked after it. And the thing actually didn't even look like it had been run, you know.
Yeah, wow.
So yeah, it's good. Good for them.
Well, mate, just because I'm interested in the freight side of things still, I've got lots of questions for you today, but if you don't mind, you can say ballpark, you can just say lots if you want, but for us, mere mortals, lots. What? Yeah. Gotcha. So just if you're listening at home, to plane a trophy truck in is big numbers. So it happened before with Kittles planed one in, didn't they? A Jimco back in the day, and then B-Rob over here.
Yeah, it was just it was more down to time. Like I spoke to a couple of boys up your way. They had a couple of cars stuck in there before Christmas because we're going to get it done in time for a boat. And then essentially they just said, we put a car on a container. It's been in America for 2 months.
Yeah,
they're telling us there's another 2 before it's going to leave. I'm just going, you know,
is the general consensus comment? It's COVID related. It's shipping related.
The particular mob I use have used every single excuse under the sun.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, they're just saying the backlog, and I've watched everything about it. The documentary stuff you watch about the LA port is mind blowing.
Yeah,
the backlog is just so. You think if they stop freight for one day, what it must look like?
Yeah.
Try and stop it for a month or two. You know, crazy, man. Look at what's happening with passports at the moment.
Yep.
Craziness.
Yeah.
It is pretty wild times that we live in at the moment. It's a change, isn't it? From pre-19, we were just jumping on planes a week before and doing whatever we wanted. And, we're in the electrical game. I know you guys got business as well. You know, you used to go, I need that circuit breaker. Just send it up tomorrow. And you'd have it. Now you're waiting weeks sometimes for gear. It's pretty crazy. So, well, that's amazing. Can you run through some specs on the new Mason? Because obviously probably people are excited. It's not a four-wheel drive. It's a two-wheel drive one. You went that for a reason. Wait.
Well, again, it was probably more to do with the timing. If I'd known where we'd sort of end up timing-wise, I probably wouldn't have. Probably would have gone because obviously the 7-litre is coming in next year, so that would sort of roughly push a four-wheel drive truck. So, but yeah, it was more timing. Like I think I ordered this this is 2 years at least. So back then I thought it was more going to be like a year, and then it sort of turned into and then obviously the COVID stuff and everything. So, but yeah, it's two-wheel drive. Excuse me, it's supposedly a touch smaller than their big trucks over there. I think it's sort of an in between a 6100 and a trophy truck. It's a big jigger. Like honestly, we haven't really done much with it. It's got an Albin sequential in it, which is the same Albins that was ran here last year. The motor in it's the same one that was run here last year because again, timing. We sent it all straight after for a mock-up stuff, and it all new gear ordered.
Yes. Yep.
Nothing's made it in time.
Yep.
Motor got done yesterday.
Yep.
Still got some stuff to add to it. That's still in the States. It's like, there's no.
So is it a local built motor or it's a States built motor?
Dugan's, yeah.
Yep, Dugan's, very good.
And then, Kenny looks after all the motors over here. So the motor in the truck now is technically a KRE, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a build together, isn't it?
Yeah. No, Kenny's good. So, and that's it, really. BFGs, Foxes, it's pretty simple looking sort of thing. But
well, hold on. So you're glossing over a few of these things. I like this, Beau. I like the competition might be listening, but it's too late for them to change. You say Foxes. Are we talking like cooled Foxes? Like are they? Yep. So it's got 4 forwards. Yep. Got all the cooling system because Fox is famous for their cooling system on it. They don't just have fin reservoirs. It's got a pump system. Albin, 6-speed, 5-speed, 6. Very cool. Which is what you run in your geyser, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's the box we ran in the geyser last year. Yeah. Paddle shift is probably the biggest difference, I guess. I reckon that I've noticed. Probably more so just from obviously you can imagine how much easier it is than taking your hand off the wheel. Probably more so when you get in trouble. Like my other one, it was pretty good, and we had the shift cut down pretty good. Yep. But it's more definitely out here with the rough and having to take your hand off and all that sort of stuff. It's probably going to save some time, I reckon, more so on race day than anywhere else. But other than that, I reckon I think the biggest thing I listen to you guys talking to the other boys about different, I guess what am I trying to say? Like advances in, I think it's everything, right? Like you think, you know, like that thing's probably got, you know, touch different hyme joints. Got,
Yes.
you know, just from the age of it, you know, like, or, you know, all the bushes or all the little bits and pieces or the way they're making the spaces are different. Just every little thing is different now.
Yeah,
know?
like you said, might even be a coating that they now use on a hind joint
Exactly
that's different.
right.
Yep. And it's that little 0.5% that you get added up over 3 or 4 things that makes that noticeable difference.
Yeah, bigger brakes are bigger.
Yep.
And not because I necessarily want it. That's just that style now is that size. It's sort of, you know, every little thing is like that, I guess. Brake pads seem to be different, like to look at, look different to what we run. And yeah, so,
on 17s and 40-inch BFs. Yep. Very good.
Yeah, steering and stuff. It's all kind of the same, but I guess there's little changes they make. You know, whether it's pulleys or just, you know, bearings or whatever it is. And I think the simplicity and the not that my guys is not, but it's just, you know, they've just been doing it. It's been another 10 years, isn't it? Like, you know, Rick's stuff's like, you look at that new G6 of Paul's or anything in the state that Rick's doing, it's second to none, obviously, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was going to bring that truck up because it's obviously in Australia. It's obviously racing thing. And it's interesting because when you see it with the body on, very similar. Looks like a geyser, you know, you make sense.
Yeah.
Pull it off and the way the seats sit, the way roof line, everything's just shuffled, isn't it? It's just like you said, those, even if it's 0.5%, if you add up a lot of them, it's 10%. That's a big advantage at Finke.
Yeah.
So were you always going to be running the Mason when you knew it was going to be here in time, or like it was, if it gets it, you'd say test it, loved it, racing it?
Yeah. I actually had a couple of boys lined up. Well, when I say lined up, I had 3 or 4 different guys from the States that we had teed up to possibly rent that geyser.
Oh yeah,
which obviously all fell through, but because obviously we had to cancel that couple of months, you know. But I think there's a few boys from the States that are keen to come out here. From judging from how many texts I got.
Awesome.
I think the boy, you know, whether it was Todd or Duncan or whoever it was, sort of talking about it. I guess the Mason boys too.
The Tisco boys obviously love it. They've been over with
John Vance is here.
Also, John Vance is here at the moment. That's cool.
So he's cool. They build a good product too. He does a good job. He runs a good show there too. So it's hard to you know, like go past any of them, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And do you think so have you driven a four-wheel drive truck?
No. Oh, sorry, I have actually. No, sorry, I haven't. Yeah, I have. Sorry.
Geez, it'd be nice to have driven so many trophy trucks.
No, I haven't. That's the only other. No, I haven't driven it. I didn't drive it.
No, so you drove a two-wheel drive Mason as well?
Oh, that sounds random. I'm trying to think.
No. Again, it's hard when you go over and the trips blend together. We know exactly what you're talking about.
No, Rick was driving it. Sorry, yeah.
No, because that was a four-wheel drive.
That was the original RPM four-wheel drive.
Yes, guys.
And it was nice. It was
yes. And very competitive in the day.
That was nice.
Because you're actually leading me to where I was going to ask. Because do you see the four-wheel drive thing at the moment as a liability with respect to the parts in them? Or is it just something that we're going to get on top of and it's going to be very fun? Oh, I only ask that because, again, we always text, don't we, Josh?
Yeah.
And, you know, we talk to Swaff and all those boys. And, you know, it's like when they're running, they are unbeatable. But then guys are two-wheel drive wins.
Yeah.
You know, and this happens constantly. You know what I mean? Like even one of our good mates, Harley Lettner, like when he's on his bop or on a two-wheel drive, he's as fast as anyone. But is that because that's just Harley Lettner, or is it like would he be faster again in a mate? I don't know. I just don't. There's so many variables.
I reckon they're all going to wish they just had banned them. You know, because they're all end up in them. They've all got them now.
That's right.
So what's the point? You might as well just stay where you're at and cut the costs in. You know, a third of the cost in off it or whatever.
Yes.
I don't know.
Because it's an interesting.
I certainly wish like you didn't have to do it. You know, it's sort of because I feel like anybody, especially I'm more so talking about the States, like anybody's in one now essentially. So the racing's just the same. It might be. I guess we got to obviously keep progression going, but I don't know if it necessarily had to go that way, or you know.
I know what you mean. You're basically saying that if it's proving the drivers, so now you've all got to be in this gear and you've all got to be in. I totally get it. It makes sense, and it's an interesting one because it fascinates me in Australia because I'm a weight guy. I'm a buggy dog too, as you know. Sure. So sure. I like the way you say buggy dog.
Shut the podcast out.
We tried to cane Toby too, and he laughed in our face. So that's fair. But anyway, the moral of the story is that that's in Australia where it's that sprint style race, like moving the weight out of the corners. That's what I see constantly, and then you add the four-wheel drive system, and again, we talked about it on a podcast a little while ago, probably our second or third one. We're talking about like McMillan's now. They've got air conditioning systems. They've got multiple. It's a totally different style of racing to what we do. Like we just when we go to Finke, we just blast. And I mean, St. George, you're just blasting as fast as you can. Like we've talked about it. Like it was a common statement back in the day. I believe you've actually done it as well, where you don't pack a spare if you want to win, because if you're pulling up to change a tire, That's the end of the. You may as well park it and drink some Jack Daniels.
It's true.
Yep.
It's true.
So it's an interesting balance to try to get these weight versus horsepower, particularly for us because we're limited. Even with the 7, we're going to be limited, aren't we?
Well, I think so. Yeah, like from everything we've tried to we've worked out and we've done is that a normal 7-litre won't push a proper 4-wheel drive truck. I don't know who's necessarily looking at doing it, and like we are looking at doing it, but it's right on the edge. But then also you think about how heavy those you just said. Then you talk about double spares and tail shafts and all the stuff they run. You take all that off, you run a bit less of just everything. Maybe they get light enough. You look like a Pro 4, like out here, Pro 4 would kill it on Pro 4. But who knows what it's like on race day, it's no good.
Yeah, because obviously, again, in Australia, there's no advantage to having air conditioning. We don't need that.
Nah, that's right.
All that stuff is like for 1,000-mile races, so
you can even see the way they build them, like even like the panels on our truck, like the step for the door is sort of attached to the panel, like because they put it together once, they never touch it again, they don't pull it apart. Not that it's a hassle or anything, but it's more just like you can tell they're building it to go racing, and then it's going to come apart.
Yes.
Sort of. Yeah, but the spares and stuff, just hanging all the stuff off, craziness, isn't it? Just amazing. The weight, like even all the boys, like whether it's Rick or obviously the Mason boys, are talking about weight of the rear axle and stuff. You think, what sort of racing anywhere else in the world or any type of racing is putting more weight on the car going to help?
Exactly right.
Craziness, But obviously, it does. But it's just just mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it'll be fascinating to see how you go this year, obviously, because you're always up the pointy end and you prove it every time. Again, so anything that's obviously other than the car, any new plans this year? Like you've been up here pre-running, you've been doing different bits and pieces.
We've all, the last probably 4 or 5 years, we've based ourselves at Alice pretty much. We leave Perth, trucks come up. We spent so much time up here. This is probably just before COVID, and obviously COVID, nothing happened, but we were coming up here and I love this joint. So that helps. All the people in town are great. Like got lifelong friends here, So for us, it was almost like, let's go up there. It's a bit of an excuse to have the shop up there, and then we can sort of do a bit of testing and stuff around. So we've been doing that. But as far as this year, no, like the truck not getting here was pretty stressful.
Yeah.
Just because like we put so much effort into it, and it was like the other truck was ready to roll. We got that ready, and we just the same as what you talk about, supply of parts and stuff. We were sort of like juggling. I'm like, okay, well that's coming with that. Then all of a sudden that's all held up in customs, and I'm going, well, we've got parts for the guys in a box with the Mason in case we needed it or whatever. So we were a bit stressed about even parts for the geyser. So no, we just come up last week and we've just been cruising around, just getting feel for it. It's just like it's like you just get in the red dirt and it's sort of just,
Bojangles.
I know. Where's that going? It's crazy. Broken. Can you believe that? Can you believe that?
Sad day. That's for sure.
Oh mate.
So when you say cruising around, because I was interested in your opinion, Beau. There's obviously the new trends, the 2 big ones that are big game changers, in my opinion, for Finke is the GPS thing, which I know we've had it for a little while, but that's really coming into its own. And then pre-running, like how many people have got registered Can-Ams now? Like, is it busy out on the track?
It's pretty busy, yeah. It is pretty busy.
So, it was always a thing to ride dirt bikes. We used to bring our dirt bikes out and ride it.
You didn't need a registered Can-Am when you got a Ford Raptor Ranger, eh?
So
I remember seeing the videos of that thing getting smashed down the track, man.
Or a rental Pajero, mate. Sorry, Hertz.
That's right. It's 50. I think, well, the GPS stuff's, it changes it. I don't know. Again, I think it's the sort of same as what I said about the 4-wheel drive thing. Like, if everyone's doing it, is it an advantage? Like, realistically, I don't know. I think some of that stuff, not that I really, this is just mine, but you sort of think, well, if you allow GPS, the guys that can
afford to do the GPS and have the time.
Have the time to do it and stuff. It makes it just keeps stepping away from it. So I'm not sure whether it's the best or worst. I don't know. But we obviously utilize that. It's easy. To be honest, up here, we know the joint pretty good.
Yes.
GPS or not, you're going to sort of drive it a certain way. I reckon a GPS is actually better at a place like St. George or whatever. That's probably where I notice it. Those sort of places where you can see, or where I guess Huddy can see, like we're going to straight through a gate post or whatever. And out here it's pretty open. It's not too bad. But the Can-Am thing, you've got to try and get every advantage you can, I don't know. Like, I don't know how that, but then you're sort of taking away, especially if you haven't got a lot of time up your sleeve, you're sort of taking away I don't know, like, then you're talking trailers, another car, another bloke, and whatever. Like, it's sort of.
Well, I totally agree, but it's an interesting one because if you're not at that level, are you really just and because we are enjoyable competitors. We know we're not going to win it. That's the reality. We're coming in. Often we'll be rebuilding a gearbox on Thursday night to race it on Friday. Just have a red hot crack.
But have a ball of fun.
Have a ball of fun. So we're cool with that. We never look at it as a disadvantage. I'll blame. Oh, Billy Geddes has got a can. I don't care. Good on you, go Bill. You're mad if you don't. So then does that become just one of those things that the likes of yourself and Shannon and all the guys that want to win, you're just going to do it. It's going to be a good time. So, because they are having a good time. There's no one that's sending me snaps that look like they're sad out here.
That's right. And I think also like a good part of it is, I mean, it's not exactly the same. So I suppose it's not a comparison, but you think like going down to Mexico pre-running is more fun than going racing. As long as everyone's being safe and everything, which they are. Like the boys, no one's doing anything silly. Like, and especially the guys that have got it. It's not like they're rookies or anything like that. Everyone's cruising around and it's like, I reckon they're having a good time, as you say. Like,
well, for anyone that's sort of not familiar with Finke, there is the unwritten law of, Alice to Apatula, sun up to lunch and then a half-hour break and then the opposite way after that. So there is like unwritten rules of the land and stuff like that. So
it's not a free-for-all.
Yeah, it's definitely not a free-for-all out there.
And it's pretty self-regulating. Like, and
it definitely is.
You definitely get yelled at if you go in the wrong way.
That's right. For sure. Yeah, and it's been like that forever. It's not like it's just happened or anything.
No.
Like I remember, we've obviously been coming in for years. I've never really been in that position, but I've pulled people up left, right, and centre, for years. But everyone's pretty good. I think even the bike riders, everyone's pretty good. And there's always lots of, obviously bikes need fuel. So luckily there's always lots of cars around with, people in them and that, if there's ever any accidents or anything. So no, I think it's good.
Well, that's
sorry to cut you off.
No.
It's also a good thing. Like the Can-Am thing helps with is helping with the whole sport, isn't it? So it's sort of natural that you're going to do, like it sort of, it all goes hand in hand, I suppose, doesn't it? All filters down, I guess.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic way for a feeder into, and you look at how many that has proven true time and time again, that guys go, okay, well, I want to dip my toe in the water. I get a Can-Am that I can also use on the farm or whatever, hey, just the ATO can use it on the farm and race it a bit on the weekend. And, they do that and then they head off and they can also, race it and then they step up to a buggy, step up to a truck, step up, it always grows. I think I know, particularly at the Don River Dash, that's something we got to get into too, mate. When are you coming to the Don? But anyway, got two trucks now. You could leave one in Queensland. See?
That's true.
Very good. But anyway, the moral of the story is that I see it time and time again where it's the progression to the motorbike and then you get the Can-Am and then you get the trophy
perfect,
truck.
Isn't it?
And
or go-karts or whatever.
Exactly right.
Or sprint cars and stuff.
Yes.
That's perfect. Sort of. It's I reckon it's mint.
Yeah, brilliant, man.
Yeah, and kids and stuff. It's perfect, I reckon.
Yeah.
Anybody thinking about doing anything, that's just the most. It can't get any easier.
Well, I think it might only be in Queensland, but they now do that Futures Champion class, which is you can race a stock side by side.
Yep.
And I think it's 12 to 14 or 12 to 16. So before you can get a CAMS license, and there are kids out there racing now, and there's already parents that are like, well, that's awesome. I'm going to buy myself one. So now, like, mum and the daughter, or can race, and it is the Can-Ams are good for, or side by sides in general are good for the sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the other side of that is, as you were talking about those 1% too, like they're another one that continually improve. And like back in the day, you were working on them nonstop. From what I saw, like Cody Crocker told us that he changed 3 belts each way to Finke. That's not a fun trip. Like,
fun.
Sorry, Polaris, but they've fixed it now. You know what I mean? And like, and as all of them grow up, that's a terrible statement, but as they develop, you know what I mean? Like it's truly, I'll eat my words. I used to think they were golf carts, but like I truly think they're a great class now.
Yeah, well, it's just going to become, I reckon it's just going to become them, glorified versions of Can-Ams and trucks, isn't it? Jimco is going to become that's going to all eventually be the same thing, I would assume.
Well, agree, because you look at the new Hammerhead, it's got a trailing arm style. It's very Can-Am Polaris style, isn't it? And then Simon Evans records, because we talked to him the other day. Simon Evans, he is a madman, bro. Like, did you hear his broken leg story?
No, I didn't actually.
He broke his leg.
When did he say that?
Oh, you go. I'll show it to you later. But broke his leg. Didn't let them cast it and then raced 5 weeks later. Yeah, he's a madman. Concreter. That's all you need to know.
He's a good lad.
He is a good lad. But anyway, he was telling us that the new Can-Am, he drove it and he goes like, it's another step up.
New Polaris. The Pro
Polaris,
Arts.
yeah.
New
I'll get
Polaris.
shot
The
for that, yeah.
Justin,
the new Pro Art.
Sabo or something,
Yes.
I think he reckons it's, yeah,
Loves it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
2 liter, very cool bit of gear. Anyway, this was a bit off topic, but no, mate, that's interesting. So, and what about team wise? Like, talk a bit for the guys that don't know the logistics of Finke. That's one of the things that is a trick, because you've got to have, a team and a truck. Then really, if you really want to win, you've got guys running up and down the service or in specific positions.
Yeah.
And then a whole team down the far end.
Yep.
Running a helicopter this year.
Yep.
So again, if you listen along, just to get the full scale of the efforts, and Beau, I mean, back in the day, like, you were running a 2-car team. It was multiple, you know what I mean? That's a huge effort.
Yep.
There's many people running this scale of operation now, isn't there? Like,
yeah. It's I don't know if it's probably the competition or that side of it has definitely grown. I think the competition is sort of similar, or maybe not quite even what it was like, back in the Wrench fellows.
Yes. Yeah. T-Rob.
They
like
were
you.
good,
Yeah, man. Like,
they were good years. I think if you could say that the competition wise, I reckon they were the years, not to obviously take anything away from us now, but I reckon they were the years. But you're right. Like, now it becomes a bit of a, it's a bit of a show, isn't it? Now,
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, Finke just generally, even on any level, is logistically a nightmare. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Whether you're riding a bike or not, you got to get fuel. You got to, organize all that sort of stuff. You got to, if you're trying to pre-run, you got to have someone else with you. It's it is like that. And for us, we got a good crew. We've always had a good crew, but we've got a really good crew. We're floating around with Smoothie and his boys. So we have a decent camp down the other end. Hanson will be with us, and we're running a bike this year as well with Jack Simpson. So
yes, that is so awesome, man. Like, when I seen that post you put up the other day of sponsoring Jack Simpson, I was like, how good is that? Like, it's awesome.
And the bike looks schmeck, bro. That's killer.
Yep.
So you guys are really all in this year.
Well, it's just like that. The bike thing was different. That's sort of not something I've ever really wanted to do. Like, I'm mates with Leesky and Rossi and that used to run the KTM team, and obviously I've known Dobby for. I was actually laughing at him today, like shenanigans in Perth with him, but I've probably known him for 20 years, and it just surprised me last year when Jack was up here and he was hanging around the Simford boys, and there was not really like any factory outfits or anything. And I was like, this is weird. Like, what's going on? And they all blame COVID, same story, and they think, oh, we're selling too many bikes. What's the point? And Leesky had left KTM by this point. I was like, this is weird. Like, Dobby and he's the only KTM rider, and then there's one Husky bloke, and there's blah blah. And I'm thinking, this is odd. And I said, Jack, what's going on? He said, oh, there's just pretty much no support. Like, Dobby deserves everything he gets, and like there's nothing to do with KTM or anything. It's just like, I was like, well, what do you want to do? Like, he's like, well, let's run a bike,
Man.
And right, yeah. So and it's not for us, like, Jack, and he's got his deals with Monster, and he's got a bit of a deal with Husky, and obviously with Smoothie and us, and the boys up back home, and sort of just all worked out. That's good, and hopefully it rides him. He can go and run his own team, whatever, in the next few years, and this gives him his, gives him a head start or whatever. Like, but I reckon they deserve it. Like, it's crazy. Like, man, they're mental, aren't they? Like, Rossi and all those boys. Like, so
they're off their head. They are truly.
Yeah, I'm just surprised they don't get any more love. It's weird. I reckon it's weird.
Especially when it's so popular as a sport. Like, I mean, you see the videos, they're getting huge lights on their pre-running videos, and everyone loves it.
Well, imagine if you had a brand new brand of bike, like whatever you want to call it, and it come out at one Finke. Like, how many would be here next year?
Well, absolutely.
100%. Look at KTM, like when Grabo switched over from Honda to KTM, and it was like the world had fallen in for Honda riders, and that orange thing's not going to win, and then they just dominated between Grabo and Pricey, and now, like, you can't throw a rock out here without hitting a KTM.
Exactly.
Like, for the bikes, it still is truly
especially when you consider in 2010, like, KTM really wasn't a motocross brand. I know that they were. Ryan Dungey came along, but honestly, like, it wasn't a brand that you associated with motocross, was it? It was Yamaha, it was Monster, Honda, all these, and it was Honda here, and it was like Desert Edge was massive.
But they still are out here. Like, if they win on Monday, like, there's people buying them on Tuesday. Like, it's like V8 supercars, or back when it was like GDHO Falcons and that used to be like that, like, win on Sunday, sell them. But and like you said, that's the crazy part, that they don't get more factory support. It's an interesting thing, because that's what the average rider looks at. Like, supercross is awesome and stuff like that, but I know that I don't think I could even walk a supercross track. You know what I mean? Like, you see them when they like pull up on top of the jump, and it's so steep. But like out here, at least I could throw a leg over a KTM and ride up and down the track and pretend. Well, hey, 2010,
Hey,
mate.
I've seen you ride up
Yeah,
and down the track,
yeah.
Russ.
Mate,
Hey, two knees done.
2010, mate. Beat Grabo that year.
I know.
Beat Grabo that year. I'll ride that one and then retired from bikes. Yeah,
No, it was good, but
yeah. But no, that's awesome that you guys have got behind like Jack and like helping him out, man.
Yeah.
It's
I think
good for the
that-
sport.
I reckon you'll find it all start coming back pretty heavy.
Yep.
I feel like our sport or generally, like even F1 and all those, they're all just saying. I've looked at some numbers the other day. It seems to be all growing pretty exponentially. So hopefully it comes back. And the events, like how busy is town?
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
And I reckon you go like, mate, I'll give you props. Like OBR as a brand has just nailed it now. Like, the way you've aligned yourself with Finke and the event and everything that's going on. And, you got your social media going and
YouTube channel.
Like it's been good, man. And like the video from the last couple of races has been banging. So like you guys deserve props for doing that. Like it's not, well, if anyone has ever done it, it is not easy. Hey, like it's a whole another job.
Well, it's a whole other thing to think about on race weekend. Like those cameras don't just turn themselves on. They don't end up in the right.
Actually, that's what Huddy's for.
Yeah,
they actually do just turn themselves on.
That's
That's exactly what he does.
Yeah. I like it.
He's not there for the GPS.
Yeah, that's right.
Mate, you turn the cameras on and then just shut up.
He's all over it. He's absolutely all over it.
He's a good man.
He's
a
a good man,
laugh. He is.
I know he's supposed to be, but he's been out pre-run with Smoothie. They had every problem under the sun.
Oh, did they?
Flat tires and rear ends.
Well, then let's just hang crap on him for the next half
yeah,
an hour.
Hey, well, that's another interesting one because obviously you're talking about and you guys have been doing a lot of work with Smoothie. Like essentially, I don't want to use the word teamed up, but you guys have been interchanging and teamed up, and that's great. And he's going that way as well with the Mason, isn't he? Is his coming on the air?
No. It's
still.
Ages. I want to say ages. Like I don't know, September maybe.
So he won't be racing it this year. It'll be.
We're thinking about maybe going over there, doing something there. Don't know exactly what. Try and find something that we can actually manage. Like you're not going to go do the 1,000. We probably. I don't know. Like it's sort of the same story. What are you going to do? You're going to go over there. Like I know Pricey and NASA had a good run that first year, but without really putting in the pre-run time and stuff, I just don't know whether it'd be worth like the effort.
The logistics and all it would take for you to not be in the right spot, and that's your race.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would be frustrating.
Yeah. So
well, actually, it's interesting.
Parker 425, right on the water there, blue bar. Like it's
the bar.
Yeah, but it's a Fox bar.
Well, this man's right. You've raced
Parker.
Yeah,
Parker is good actually. Yeah,
brilliant race. So, because I was going to say, so you're looking at doing some stuff over there in America, which is amazing because there's a couple of teams now racing over. Big Marson and Talbot Cox have bought a truck over there.
Yeah, really.
It's sitting over there with Racer, so they're going to do a bit. And so there's more and more Aussies doing stuff over there. I mean, it's always been a coming because you guys. Well, did you race the year with Hanson?
No.
Oh, no, different race.
No.
Sorry, I should clarify that. Not with Hanson, but was it the same?
No,
because that was Parker 425 as well, wasn't it?
I sat on Australia on that. Yeah, I raced. We did 2012, and we did 2012, and we did 2017. Yep, 2017. We had a good run, and then we did the 1,000 in 2008.
Which was in the Baja car, which is Joey Bullman's. Because I was going to say, we'll have to do an update. We got that very wrong. I thought both of those came through Zach's connection because of the Wilsons. But Mikey Taylor was the one that said, no, you're on the wrong track. And then once he reminded us, because we remember watching, I want to bring up T-Rob as well, because you've got to tell us where he is and what he's up to these days, or maybe you should, but anyway, you know what I mean. But he raced the Baja car at Gundy the first year. Would it have been 09?
No, that was Brian, I think.
No, we never run it. Never run in Australia.
Oh,
it's
Joey Bullman must have been buying it then.
Yeah. So we were obviously planning on it. Then we just literally on the water, and then we had the turbo cars. In fact, I think my turbo cars, we had them in the same container, and we were like, shit. We were like, no, this is not.
Because did you race that year at Gundy at 09 as well? So there was two black cars. Because I remember one OBR car because it wasn't. Remember there was like 15 seconds between Shannon and Fellows, and then
Trav was in a V8 Jimco.
Yeah, it was the championship year.
Yes.
And it was close.
Close.
How crazy is it after 5 rounds in those days? It came down to the last lap to like within a minute. And that's what you were saying about.
Shannon ended up winning. And then the following year, Fellows won, and he won it at the Pines.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yes, I think so.
Yep.
Yes, that would have been 2010. Yeah,
Yep.
but anyway, like you said, what an era in racing! Like
That was crazy.
It was crazy.
They were the best years.
It was brilliant because the other thing that I used to love, and again, see, we used to consume all the content because there wasn't that much content. Like, I mean, we still try to consume a lot of it, but like when it was Trav and your dad racing down the at Gascoigne, because there's a race
the gas, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Well, that sort of sounds like your Don River Dash, you know.
Yep.
What's the name of the town? Bowen.
Bowen.
I was in Bowen. I was in Bowen at one point at that pub there on the corner. We were driving through. We were going to look at a I don't know what we're doing.
Yep.
And we were going to look at a prawn joint, and I said, "Where's Don River Dash?" And we went over the bridge. I was like, "Yeah, this is literally that is a good town."
Yeah.
Race that.
Oh yeah,
it's very similar to Carnarvon where Gascoigne's out of.
Yeah, right on the Whit Sundays. Like, yeah, it's a perfect place.
Yeah, well, you know where the point there is, and like, I mean, you can stay in the apartments. In 5 minutes, you're at the race. Like, there's not too many races.
What time of year is that again?
Yeah,
September 9th, the 11th.
Yep,
it's the same.
And
that's the same weekend as the Bar 400. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yep. And one of the cool things that they do is the start line. They actually got permission to put the start line in at the showgrounds, and you actually so you camp, your pits are set up there, and you start, and you do a bit of a race for a kilometre or so on bitumen, and then drop into that, so you don't have to pack up and move everything all the time. Like, it's just you get there on Thursday or Friday, set up, and just I think Geddes is already planning like what smoker he's going to take and everything like that. Like so it's a heck of a good race. Like you said, that original footage of like your dad and T-Rob going down that creek, well, that's exactly like what Don is. At points, each lane they're saying is approximately 50. Like in points, the creeks or the river is 100, 120 meters wide.
Same Gascoigne River. Yeah.
So, which is funny because we have talked about, we were actually going to do the pilgrimage that way as well. Like, come to Finke, leave everything in Finke, and then go to Carnarvon and then come home. But it just never played out as it didn't. But we're always a bit busy. But yeah, man, that's one race that, other than the fact that it's in the middle of nowhere, but
there is a pub.
Yeah,
there is a pub.
Definitely. Right. There's some cool stuff out there. So it's a great race.
Well, that was one thing I did want to touch on is you were talking about back in the days when you had the turbo cars. Like, you have raced, I guess you're one of the people we could say has raced a pro buggy at the absolute pinnacle. Like, there was that year you topped prologue here and then were leading the race until you had a DNF. And then you've also done the same essentially in the truck. Like, what is there a massive difference between the way like you treat your pro buggy to the way your driving style for your pro buggy, or is it just fast, loose, dangerous, take chances no matter what you're driving? It's a question that's always interests me, because
no, like the turbo cars are like insanely fast.
Yes,
and I don't think obviously it's just not how I'm. It's just not.
No, just say it. Just say it. Yeah,
they're not driving them like we used to.
Yes,
I can say that. Because now you go and break it, and like Hanson, like there's so much power coming out of those things. Like Hanson, they're doing it to the limit where they think the car's going to finish, which is obviously fair.
Yes.
And you look at what happened at Finke, turbo cars dropped exactly like they did back in 2000 and all the way through there. 2010, all that stuff.
Yep.
Now, obviously, we always didn't finish back then. Then you look what happens when they all do finish and they all start racing each other.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, it's going, shit, if I make up 6 seconds, I could win the race on this, whatever the numbers were.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they start racing each other. Yep. Well, that's what happened back in the day. But luckily, everyone was braking at the time.
Yes.
So then you sort of, like even when we had our in the truck, I mean, when we qualified out here second the first year we had it.
Yeah.
Well, then I was doing the same. That's why we ended up crashing. Because I'm thinking, well, I know how fast these things are. And then obviously whoever Rhodesy was in front of me.
Yep.
He's gone, he knows how hard, and then all of a sudden he breaks too because he's trying to race it.
Yep.
But when you just go out and you drive him like what Wrenchy does and how he really, like he's obviously a freak when it comes to like driving and stuff. There's no question about it. But he knows the fine line of making them finish, And maybe even this year, like we were talking about earlier with him, like not to talk about him too much, but he knows how to make a car finish, And that's what everyone's got to be scared of, I reckon, when he knows exactly how to drive it fast enough to make it finish. He knows exactly where it's at.
Yep.
But the differences, I don't know, they're completely different, I suppose. But at the same time, the buggy is just very, very fast, very fast.
Yep.
But then you're not going to you can't drive it you're not going to come down a gravel road and hit a bunch of whoops at absolutely top speed because you just don't know doesn't matter how well the car handles. You don't know what it's going to do. Sometimes, it just wants to buck out of it or whatever it is. Whereas in a truck, you can obviously do that.
Yep.
And a truck, I guess you just try and beat on it a bit and keep the momentum up. I don't know. Whereas a buggy, you don't need to keep the momentum.
Yep.
No mid-speed corner, really. I don't know.
Yes.
It's in and out, I guess, is a bit more. But yeah, they're insanely fast.
Yes. Yep.
I actually drove Trav just before Shane took it. We're up at the farm. And I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
And like, I think getting back in one now would be very interesting because you get so used to trying to keep momentum. You know, like put it like a guy like Greg or whatever in one, or any of us, Toby, you know, whatever. You're keeping that mid-speed corner. So if you do that in a buggy, first of all, you probably break it. But secondly,
if it held together,
crazy
if it
fast
did hold together,
because then it'd have that top speed as well.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously what you guys are always battling, that wind resistance. Because that's what it seems like to us. Yeah. Because is there any truth? I mean, I know that we've heard it from Bill, but do you guys find the same with your data? Like pull the body off, it'll go another couple of clocks, like a lot?
Yes and no. Yeah. It's weird. It's weird sometimes. I don't know, especially out here because we do it a fair bit. We've done it so many times out here with the body on and off. But I don't know. It's weird. We've played around with a bit with roofs and stuff, but yeah, they definitely hit a wall. That's why you just got to keep it in that, that 100 to 160 range is where you want to just try and make it the fastest car.
And I suppose if you can do that non-stop, that's a winning time. You just got to get all those parts together and all those pieces. And that's the game for everyone, really. Because we even talk about Shannon. Like, I mean, if you haven't been around, you've been around a long time, but he's had his heartbreak years too. Remember that year that he broke and it was like literally he couldn't push it. So, it's not like he's immune to it. It's just that he's got that balance in those years of experience.
That's right. Yeah. Everyone's had their pain out here, haven't they?
Oh, mate. Well, I didn't want to. Well, I will bring it up. You've had more than most because you've been that close. Like, how many years have you stood on the podium?
7, 8.
That's amazing. That's simply brilliant. But just never got quite to that top step. And you've been leading a couple of times, more than a couple of times.
Yeah, we've had a few good runs. Yeah,
and both you and Trav too. Like Trav's another one that, man, on his given
day.
Even
Brian. Brian's been close a couple of times.
We were talking about the rain. I was literally just telling a story in the car. We were talking about the rain and how wet in 2001 it was wet.
Yep.
My old man was leading then. The car he was in front of the rain and he was 15 minutes in front. It was 15 minutes before the next car passed because I think that's your fellows won that year, I think. No. Oh, sorry. Who was that? That was, anyway, I'll think of it. Garland comes second and I think it was fellows.
So just to give us some info, so 2001, that's pre-Porter.
Yeah, that's what we called the slingshot, which was Steve Graydon's car that he won in 92. He won in 92. My old man comes second, both WA. And then, anyway, so we bought that car off him and then ended up running in, not 2001. What year am I talking here? Yeah, 2000.
Yep.
When I was wet. Anyway, but so close, like sort of, I don't know, I think he was at Road Dinger, input shaft. Car was completely clean, no mud, and then it was the wettest year we've ever had down here. I mean, Bruce Garland comes second in a Jackaroo.
Yes,
I think I remember that. Yeah,
and he's had his own heartbreak or whatever, and then Trav's the same. I mean, Trav probably the worst year was that 2017 when he was literally just leading. Prologue way down, way home. And then same just after Rodinger power steering pump, which was brand new that night before. It's craziness. Absolutely craziness. And just cruising,
That was the most controlled in-cab. Like, he was just doing it. And for it to fail, heartbreaking. But again,
it is what it is.
That's what I was going to say. So this is the year. That's what you're saying. We're lining up and cracking.
Well, I think it's good anyway. Like, just it's a bit of a fresh deal with the truck and just everything. I think, and just coming off COVID and all that stuff. I think, as in the last couple of years, I think it's just good.
So not going to warm into it with the Mason. Going to looking for that number one spot.
Well, we've got to make up for the.
Whenever you ever heard the last name Robinson and warming in, I don't like,
because that was the other thing. Like that, I was going to say is when you transition from the buggy to the truck, like it was like that. Like you were on the pay, like that truck rolled out and you second in prologue. Like
that's unbelievable. Because at that period of time, trucks weren't doing that. Like I know they have had a few now, but like no one thought that you were doing pretty well to get in the top 10, really, weren't you? The thought process was that you were going to run through the packet with the trucks, like and then for that to happen, man.
So I like the style of just New Mason, just send it. Like, I love it.
We'll just make up for the lack of seat time. We'll just hold her on.
Absolutely. No, very good. So, again, we've talked back about Finke, but like Travis, talk to us because I'm sure there's a few people that'd love to know because we've talked about, haven't we? What's T-Rob up to these days?
He's just he's busy at work. Perth's good. Perth's flat out at the moment. He's busy. Got the family going. He's just. I
saw a photo of him being a wild man on Instagram the other day. He doesn't change.
No. There's no changes. But no, he's cruising. He's good.
There's no pro buggy stashed away somewhere.
I don't know. We've talked heaps about it, but
And because he tested in a sprint car for a little bit.
Run a sprint car and stuff, but it's not, as you all know, like it's not the same, is it?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think anything is.
No,
man.
It
is very hard.
We went down to the 4-wheel drive drags the other day, and it was
awesome. It was awesome. It was
really awesome. It was
the Dobinson deal.
It was awesome. It was really good.
Crazy 4-wheel drives.
They're
like running 1080s and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. But hit on 35s, which is scary as hell. But anyway.
Yeah, but you are right about off road. Like it's just everything about it. Like particularly I say it, like I said, I've got a buggy, but trucks, man, like the way they look with the panels and the wheels dropping out and everything like that, like, yeah, there is something about off-road where there's nothing quite, it's the speeds, it's the roughness, it's everything like that. But
and even down to it's the whole event, like you said, like Finke, you come out for, well, you guys are for a long time, but for a week, and it's like tonight we're going to the street party, and then Friday night's pro scrutineering, and then Saturday's prologue, and Monday's racings. Then Monday night we're at Lassiter's, like it's going to be, it's going to be a big week.
Walking back home through the Todd.
But like I think that's what makes off-road racing so great. And again, all the good people and all the great stories, and there is a lot of good people in off-road racing, and it's interesting because the glory years, and I totally agree. But even now, like there's great people that are coming. Like Comiskey's an awesome one that's come into the sport. Smoothie, these guys and. Well, okay, so I'm jumping all over the place. I apologize. So I've always been interested. So how did Brian get into off-road racing? Like, was he a motor guy, bike guy that went racing?
No, not really, but probably rode motorbikes or whatever when he was real young. But where our office and some of our yard is in Perth, in a place called Osborne Park. Literally, there was just a guy. Back in the day, I think it was what were they back there? Is that a Trekker? Does that make this is probably like 87?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
86, 87.
Yep.
Something like that.
Probably a well-together kit frame. Like,
I think it was. And some bloke, and then you'd buy the Beetle and swap it all over. And he was pretty close with a heap of guys over there that used to race sprint cars, actually.
Yep.
Some performance blokes. When I say performance, like a place called Performance Mods and some other joints, and everyone in town was they were just all lads. And somehow that come about. And then he went racing, and then you know what it's like. You just get the bug. But he did go like nationally all the time, but not really. Well, he was never chasing a championship or nothing. It was never like that.
He was just always picking his races.
Yeah. He just went, and he, him and guys like Terry Rose and Nev Taylor and stuff like, it was like love at first sight. Like him and Rosie and those sort of boys were, and Old Man Zachar and that were just, really, really close.
Yep.
And I just kept him going, and just from there, obviously just, keeps ticking on. Then I think Finke, he obviously got the bug with Finke real early. I think he was up here in 91, and then 92 ran second, and he was really, really close with Steve Graydon, or he's really close with Steve Graydon. So that first second thing sort of gave him the bite, the bug to just keep coming.
And just then the progression then is you boys just getting in the side of the car, starting to drive the cars. Then.
I think back then we could get in earlier than now. I can't remember what the rules are now, but
was it like?
I would have been. I don't reckon I was even 12.
Yeah,
maybe state rounds even younger.
As a navigator or as a driver?
Well, the first time I went in the car, I was 2.5 at the Harvey short course. And because it was raining that much, the navigator was in the passenger seat, Rod Symes. He got so blind that he wasn't able to get in the truck. Back then, he raced a truck, actually. His second car was a truck, actually. And, so he qualified that because they weren't looking at the car well enough. And then, from there, just, I think I got in the car with him when I was like literally 10, 11 or 12, whatever the earliest you could. I think a state deal was even less than.
Might have been like 12 you could navvy, and then like
14.
I'm going to say 14 in like 8 months. I remember
like 12 you could drive.
Maybe it was like
it was early.
It was a very
Clayton Chapman definitely seemed very young when he started racing. He's one of those young starters.
And Trav would have been like before he had a license and stuff like that.
Definitely before the license. I reckon he was probably 16. 16 when he at Hyden and that. I reckon. It's been ages. Time flies.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Yeah,
that's craziness. That's it. Just I saw it, get bit with the bug, and that was it. And just been never ending since. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but is it?
No, good thing. Good thing. Very good thing.
So
well, I think because again, it's one of those things that like we talk about. It's an ever evolving sport too. So you don't get it's not going to get bored. The track definitely always changed. Like even Finke now, that's another interesting one. What do you find in the track like this year? Has a big change?
Flat. I don't know
because that's what I heard as well.
It's just flat.
Wow.
Because what's happened is at the end of, I will admit, in 2018, 19 more so 19, I noticed I was like, geez, this is rough. Like it was rough. Oh, no complaints from me, realistically. Even for me, I was like, this is pretty rough. And I wouldn't necessarily disagree with the fact they probably had to tidy it up to keep everybody happy, because there'd be a lot of, especially bike riders that come in here to do it. Like, I don't know what the stats are, but I'd be like to see how many bike riders don't return after their first run. Like, there wouldn't be that many regulars. Like, out of the 650, what is it? It may be 150, maybe. Because everyone would be like, what am I doing to myself?
Might do it once, might do it twice.
And
a lot of people tick it as a bucket list item, which makes sense.
So I don't disagree with them having to clean it up. And then obviously it was just like a perfect storm for the track, because they've gone, and like Fellows was saying to me, like the Exact boys, I think they were the ones that graded. And he said, we graded it thinking obviously to be pre-running, but then COVID come along. And it ended up being a year of nothing, or sorry, 2 years technically of nothing until the next event. And he goes, I can imagine the amount of wind and everything that, you know.
And even it's had a lot of rain this year.
And then this year because they're doing up that other road, they've had to cut like sort of at the 50K mark. They've probably cut, I don't know, 15K where they've had to move the track in because of the road. And then that's obviously there's no way to make that rough, is it? Cut a grader through it, there's nothing you can do. So that part's gone real, and that's actually not a bad. That was a pretty rough spot, you know. So it's just like little bits and pieces. So it just takes time, but I don't know, you know. There's what's it going to be? There's probably been 500 people up and down in the last 2, 3, 4 days. So,
non-stop.
Probably does something, you know.
Absolutely.
I'll go for another look tomorrow, but I think that don't know. It's not going to be rough. That's for sure. It's going to be fast time. It'll be the fastest time ever by far, I reckon.
There you go.
I like it.
I like
big
that
call.
too.
Straight up.
But I must admit, I'd talked to a couple others. Swindlehurst was one of them that had said, he goes, it's going to be fast this year. So it'll be interesting to see what everyone
we're going to be
about.
like, very early 30s.
And do you? Whoa, that's fast. That's really fast.
I just don't see how it's not like if the right guys plural are up front. Like if there's no one sort of getting, because they've got 2 minute gaps first 10 cars now.
Oh wow!
So there's a bit, you know, and then they even behind that, I think it's still like a minute per car. Like they're not, and then it's up to like they're not going to like, I think up to like another 70s a minute apart or something.
Yeah, wow.
Don't quote me on that actually, but I think it might be like that. And then they're going 30 seconds apart or something. So even somebody further back could have a fairly decent run.
Because if you're sort of new to the Finke thing, for the guys listening along at home, they used to run them like the first 10 left on single time on a minute, and then it was double cars. Do you use the drag race it? Remember that? That was cool. Like, but it also made it dusty. Man, it was dusty.
It's pretty, like, I mean, wouldn't say it's dangerous, but it's like it's a fairer race for everybody.
Yes.
You know, I reckon that's not fixing anything to do with danger. You know, the people that ain't driving like you know, that's the part's not. I don't think it's going to fix anything, but they it's just not a race, is it? If you're all just stuck in the dust. No, it's good. At least they're having a crack at trying to do some different stuff to try and see what they can do.
Well, you never know if something's going to be effective or not until you actually give it a go. So
it's good. Yeah, they do a good job up here, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
A brilliant committee. And I mean, considering that it's an event that basically, you know, they might have a month off and then they're back into it because it's that big. It's, you know, again, you said 650 bikes, 150 odd cars, 160 cars this year. It's some crazy number anyway. It's a big. Yeah, the logistics. I'm glad I'm not on the committee. I can tell you that for free. Us goons just get to talk on the microphone, so that's the easy part.
Yeah, that'll be good.
It'll be good. We're excited about it this year. It's going to be a good time. So we'll make sure.
And so what do you do? You're actually in the box up the top, the whole And then what? Have you been up there?
No. So it started off while we were doing it with Method, and then because of the Michael Taylor connection, and then all of a sudden we ended up. You know, they said, "Oh well, if you're keen, you want to do the whole."
What sort of info do you get in front of you?
Well, we're just going to. Well,
you know us. We're rogue, mate. We're just going to run
fast and loose. We'll just
obviously get split times and everything.
So we should be getting all the info that will go up on their website and stuff like that. Yeah. So hopefully we should be able to give live updates of split times and everything like that. So
And we're gonna keep up to date with the live YouTube feed as well, so that we can, you know, at least keep up to date with what's going on.
If worst comes to worst, we're not getting the info we want. We said we'll just take our own laptop up there and bring their live feed up and talk off that. And so we're talking about what's on the big screen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But excited, good man. Like something a bit different. If you said to us that we would have been commentating Finke 5-6 years ago, we would have said not a chance. But to get an opportunity to do it, like it is the big dance in Australia, really, in off-road racing. Like there's lots of awesome races, but it's the one that everyone knows.
It is rated as the third biggest desert race in the world. So I think it's Dakar, then Baja 1000, then Finke, according to statistics. I don't know who makes these statistics. I was going to say,
we're just making this shit up.
Jack's making them.
Jake. No, it is official on the stat on Wikipedia. So
I'll just update it now. Yeah.
But no, it's a big race, and it'll be a good one to have a bit of fun. And Yeah, I mean, there's always good people here, and there's always good races, and there's always, I mean, Prologue's going to be a story in itself. Like, obviously, you know it better than anyone that you just got to go hell for leather. Because again, for the regular listeners, but not Finke aficionados or whatever the word is, anyway. Like, there's the issue is that the track is very, very smooth compared to the racetrack. Hey, it's always been something that's difficult and I don't blame anyone. Like me, the reality is, how do you create Bonduma for people to see? It is pretty difficult. So they've got this, fast flowing track. It does have some rough stuff in it, but it really isn't the Finke. Like, you get down 20, 30, 40 Ks, then get down 150 Ks, you're in the big stuff. That's where the race is won and lost. And, it's interesting because, we do get a lot of Prologue experts, and it's very interesting because it happens in the motocross as well. Hey, Josh, because obviously we're mad keen motorbike guys. So, you see the guys that are the very high level state, competitors, and they'll often blaze, we had a great mate, he's a top 10 guy, old Beavis, remember back in the day? And for the life of him, poor bugger, could never qualify. Best he probably did was 80, 90, somewhere in there. And then he just had to work hard every race. He's like, man, these little, there's a 15-year-old on a motocross bike that just blazes, And that's something that happens in the cars as well.
Tough, so
you
and
guys
this one's short. Like, this is it's what is it? It's under 5 minutes, like, it's pretty.
I think it's only 8 and a bit kilometers the lap.
It's like, it's just that is tight, isn't it? Like, one little mistake does actually really cost you a lot.
Absolutely,
At least at the other joints, St. George and stuff, if they go and put them 18, 20K or whatever, you've actually got, got a little bit of lenience.
You can make a couple of mistakes and still gather up. It's an interesting one. And so again, just hell for leather in Prologue.
There's no real other way. Is there? Like, I mean, as you say, it's so important, even with the 2-minute gaps and even with a bit of rain or whatever, there's still going to be dust. Definitely still going to be dust, 100%.
And no matter what, passing is a checkup. You've got to get off the gas. It just makes everything difficult. Have you been for a walk around or ride around? You've done the Prologue track, very similar to previous years?
Identical track, just flat. Same thing, grader all over it.
Oh, so even the whoops out the back gone?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, like, when I say gone, like, I'm talking, they but it's like, they're gone essentially compared to what they were. But it's like, it's a tough one. The committee's in a tough spot, aren't they? Because they're in this position where they've got 100 They've got 165 cars that are going to go over it, and they've got 650 bikes. So the guy's coming last, the guy last in the bikes. Like, it's going to be rough by the time he gets there. So imagine how bad it would be. Not that I still think it should obviously be left alone, but for us, we want it as rough as possible. But it is what it is.
You can see the guy in the other shoe foot, like he's 65 years old. He wants to tick Finke off the bucket list.
He doesn't be terrorized. So it's tough.
They are. They're sort of damned if they do and damned if they don't. Like, So
they're trying. But it's good. So we'll see. I guess the after this year, and I guess the whole deal rolls into all these other rounds and just see if these guys keep coming to all the races. And
so that is the plan for you, like whole championship.
Cool. Like, I mean, obviously, if we if we had a bad run here and a bad run the next one, I'd sort of start thinking. But obviously, we'll go to Kalgoorlie. And
so great that there's a championship round back in Western Australia as well.
Like, event's so good. Actually, I didn't even mention it before about Gas Dash, but Kalgoorlie's so good. The town is just absolutely so behind it now. Like, it was pretty good before, but it's really quite.
It's fast red dirt. Like, I've seen some videos of it.
It's nothing like it used to. Yeah, like when did you boys come out there?
No, we've never made it over. We were going to go over the first year.
When we were also going to go when Corey raced, when he brought that Razorback buggy and came over and raced.
Yeah, Corey did race at the new track. Yep. But it's out of town. They've got a spot there that they actually they don't necessarily own it, but it sounds like it's pretty long term. And then the town's just WA's pumping, the mining's pumping, so Kalgoorlie's just right at the heart of the whole deal. So it really shows through with everything they're doing. They've done a good job. And it is open. It's open country. It's similar to this sort of country out here. I mean, obviously it's a bit tighter because obviously there's a loop, but they've got a bit of tree section stuff, but it's pretty flowy.
It's an 80, 100K loop, something like that.
Yeah, more even, I think. Yeah, cool. 125 something. I think they're going to try and make it long enough because they're running bikes too, so they've got to make it long enough where all the start-stop deal and trying to get 2 laps, it's a bit of a juggle for them too. They've got their work cut out for them on that end too, because you got these whatever, I don't know what they get, 300 bikes, whatever. Someone hurts themselves out in the middle, and you're trying to get the cars going. And never ends, and they got Oh, they must have 8 choppers out there trying to cart people back and forth and it's just craziness.
The motorbikes definitely changed the game,
They
don't
do,
they?
yeah.
And for an event organizer,
yeah,
like
yeah.
even at Don, like it's wild, man. The ambulances just never stop. And
Oh,
those motorbike boys, they're wild in the head for sure.
100%.
So no, it's good, but no, that's unreal, mate. And like you said, it is great that it. Because how can you call it a national level competition? I know it's being difficult, but when it's only one side of Australia, like it is a national competition now. So I love that fact.
Because there's a round in South Australia.
Love Day.
Love Day, South
Yep,
Australia.
yep,
Yep.
yep.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah, so it is really.
And
pretty much a
they're
national.
all big tracks too, like that. Like Love Day's another great track, like
I haven't been up there. Down there.
Yep, no, you'll enjoy it definitely in a truck. So it's, those boys are in trucks now, so they build stuff that suits that sort of conditions. And
see, I have been Love Day. I was there when we ran the trophy cart race down there.
Yes.
Boys.
Yes, that one.
That was a laugh.
That was back in
could have been.
That was a laugh.
That was back in their wild four-wheel drive days too.
Yeah,
Remember when
yeah.
they used to have the mud trucks and jump them like meters in the air?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, look at Watley. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's
He's a wild man
animal.
too.
He is a wild man.
Yeah, and he's cool.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
driving great at the moment.
Yeah. No, he's having a good run. That's good. Yeah.
That's actually one thing that I mean, it's always a cool class. It's always been a cool class, but the trophy truck thing at the moment is like it's really cool and really competitive. Like there's great guys like Watley. There's Comiskey. There's Billy's out here. Like Greg Gardner. I mean, that guy's a hell man. Hey, he's got a different beat of the drum. That man, I love
he
it.
definitely does. Yeah.
Well, actually, you got to tell you, Beth. Here's a good Greg Gardner story. And actually, I apologize because I think it's kind of against you, but it wasn't against you. It was just against everyone.
Yeah.
We just said that Greg Gardner. Well, it was Josh, bet Luke Ayres. That $100 that Greg was going to be fastest trophy truck because he just put the new Ford Albans. Got the guys there, similar sort of era. And remember the $100 bet. And so we ended up. He obviously didn't.
No,
win
yeah.
that. Cool.
No, it wasn't 11. It wasn't 11. It was.
Well, what happened in 11?
11 was the year he won it.
Oh,
no,
but it was the new
that
guys.
Was that was so good.
Yeah, it was a good run.
That was good.
Yeah,
I'm so glad he was the.
Well, actually, being honest, would it have been the year that Beau ended up coming second anyway?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was the year that you got second in prologue in your truck, which was brilliant.
Yeah,
and Greg did pretty well. I think he got 7th or 8th or something like that. Anyway, let's just run with that as the conversation. But anyway, long story short, is that was the bet. So Josh paid up like a good man, and then we saw him at Lasses, and he was just. Lasses, you know the story, and we're having a good time.
Whispering in a microphone.
Yeah, exactly. And Greg goes, oh yeah, because we told him.
No, I told him about the bet. Yeah,
had a laugh, and then he goes, "Tell you what, mate." Carrison was sitting there too.
Wasn't 100.
He goes, double down. We'll get it back next year.
Just turned straight around to Carrison, like hit him on the shoulder and said, "Craig, we need more horsepower, mate." Yeah,
so, double down. We got to.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a saying. Give it the onions. Because Greg, the baddest onion farmer in Australia.
He's loose.
Yeah. But again, that's true of a lot of you. Like you drive that truck.
Yeah, he's pretty loose, but
he drives pretty.
I like
do you know
what I mean? Like he is though. He is.
Yeah, he thinks different. That Bitchman, that skid that he did, and Bitchman was different too. Like, he does think. I don't know if he does think.
Screaming, screaming all the time.
Yep.
Every time I get to watch, I'm like, what is it always like this?
Well, there was a great. Billy told the story as well. Like, when first time he drove an SST. Yep. He pulled into the pits. He said, I don't know what's going on, mate. There's these lights on the dash that are just on all the time. And they ripped up the data and they said, Greg, that's the rev limiter, mate. Yeah. So that was, he's like, oh, these things don't rev as much as I expected they would, So proper legend.
But it's such a great class and it's like really since the guys have come in, like particularly yours, Billy's, Greg's, like there's a few now. Greg had his second truck, which that was a pretty competitive era in truck, wasn't it? It really started moving along and it's been pretty cool.
Well, dare throw it out there is class 4 now is kind of like the glory days, like when Trav, like yourself, Dave Fellows, Renchi, that you could have.
There was a fair few back then.
I'm
trying to think we're missing someone. There's someone. Glennie Owen.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Well, not that they're gone, but it's just like they just seemed to be.
But there was
for young and old.
Yeah, you could throw it out and say there's out of 5-10 blokes and trucks are like that now. Like like it's who's going to be winning that class. Yeah.
No, it's a good class. And when you think about it, actually, that's an interesting point you bring up. Like no one's really gone, But do you think now, is it a COVID thing that people have gone, okay, well, I'm just going to pick and choose what races I want to do? Is that, they're just going, okay, well, I'm going to do Millicent and I'll do this and I'll do
maybe
that.
It's generational.
Generational, yeah. But
Maybe
or is
like-
it guys that have done it for a while and
Yeah.
now just need to relax?
I
Or,
reckon.
yeah, that makes sense.
I reckon,
Yeah, it's just because when you think about it, they're all still there. They're all still doing
Yeah,
it.
Burrows and-
Glenn Owen's here this year.
Oh,
weekend,
yeah.
yep. Which we were talking about on the drive out. We said that's going to be an interesting one. Like no dog in the fight for the championship, nothing like that. Like he knows what it takes to win Finke. So he's just coming out here to try and blaze as fast
Hold
as he
the flag.
can. Like he could definitely be a bit of a cat amongst the pigeons
Definitely,
for pro or for anyone in an overall. But if say someone like Howes or Ryan gets caught up in a race with Glen Owen for Finke, like it could definitely be a bit of a game, a bit of a switch up of the championship as well. There's
He's
some.
not sure I've won the booster.
No, he's not.
Man, that year that he won it, like the way he came home, he come past us like he was fast, like he was upper, and it didn't matter because he won it by a little bit and he didn't care. He's just holding it on, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Well, I only started I was on him, so 16 seconds I started behind him, and then I think he sort of dusted me in about 10 or 15k past Mount Squires, and I'm assuming he just figured I was there.
Yep.
He was gone.
Yeah.
He was gone.
Yep.
After I had him for a while, then he's gone.
Yep.
I was like, fuck.
Well, this is interesting. I'm sorry, man. I'm jumping around everywhere. How much information do you have in the truck now? Like when you say,
Still pretty sparse on. Yeah, we've tried over the years, but we're pretty much relying on people on the track, on the side of the track.
Oh, so you will have spotters and someone will say, "Oi, you're 15 seconds behind."
Yeah, or whatever we get. But the problem is obviously they've got to be in phone range. Like we've got a sat, but it's still not. Like you're not. I've got 10 sat phone. I'm not bothering that badly. But also it really is a sprint. Like, what are they going to tell you? What are you going to change?
Hey, go faster.
Maybe
I'm on it, mate.
Maybe they said, you're 1 second off. Like, you might step it up a little bit, but if you're 20 seconds up or 20 seconds down or whatever, you're probably doing what you can anyway.
So, it's probably only the situation where you're like 10 minutes up, where you'd be like, okay, I can wind this back now.
Definitely. That'd be good. That'd be good.
Imagine hearing that.
That'd be but I think at the other events it's probably a bit more handy. He comes through the pits and get a bit of a feel for the whole thing. But up here it's a bit of a sprint. There's no doubt about it now.
And the problem with that is that there's so many things that can change that, like, even like say you're sitting in third and you're like, oh, well, like whatever, I'm just going to consolidate. But it hasn't been unusual that two people in front have dropped out within the last 20Ks.
Well, we were talking about this the other day. So there was a year that Fellows won for the second year in a row. I'm pretty sure it was. Trav was leading. He had a clutch failure, I'm pretty sure it was, or an input shaft.
Input, was that the year through the whoops?
That was the year with Gallard won. Sorry, this was Trav broke like sort of this end, and then he broke, and then I was pretty sure Chris called. Oh no, I guess Fellows was leading. Then Fellows did a throttle cable.
Yes,
and then they had to get out and change the throttle cable. And I think Coulthard was winning at one point. I reckon even Andrew Kittle was winning at one point.
Yep,
and then all broke.
Yep.
And then Fellows is not winning and he's changed the freaking throttle cable.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, what the hell?
Yes.
Yeah, which is unheard of.
Yeah. There is some unusual ones, hey? And so same deal the year that Greg Gartner won, and like it was like everyone was in front, and then all of a sudden, then Jeff Rowe was leading for a little bit, and then the tire fell off that thing, and like just things that happen in this race. Hey, it is madness. So it's very exciting. And so, mate, what do you reckon, Josh? You would probably go. Are we an hour in?
Yeah, we're an hour in.
Yeah, there you go. We're chatting away. We just, we won't keep you too long because we essentially know that you are a busy man. For all our listeners out there, this man has been on the phone nonstop, organising parts and freight and truck. It's all happening. It will even down to like on the way back they had to pick the race truck in Sydney.
Yep.
And then the other truck came back with, they've got to do work to that now because it's done a quick 4,500 K round trip, just
some 9,000 Ks.
It's just one of those things that I think it just never stops, does it? And that's pretty much even Monday night, it doesn't stop. So maybe Tuesday you get a breather.
That's right. We'll be on it.
Good. Yeah. On Tuesday it'll still be on it. Correct. No, it'll be good. Yeah. But one way or another, it's either celebrate or not celebrate, but it's still celebrate. Yeah. Awesome, mate. So no, that's brilliant. And listen, we absolutely enjoy and appreciate you taking a couple of minutes out of your time because again, we know you are a busy man and you are a Finke icon, mate. Like I know a lot of people don't think about themselves like that. Lots of Australians are quite a humble bunch. We sort of talk to a few people. They're like,
humble.
I like that. But a lot of them are, and they sort of go, I don't think like that. But mate, I'll give you. we looked up to you for a lot of years. I know we're all the same age, but anyway, one of the stories that again, like we said, we first time I'll tell you, Josh will, we walked into Gundawindi and that was Trav and you guys there, and to see those black buggies going down Gundawindi at 110%, like we were just like 4 drive boys going, oh crap. And then from that, we now got a Jimco and all the other stuff. And like, that's the sort of stuff that you guys, there's a generation coming through that are inspired by the OBR stuff and by the crew, because it's a big crew, but and the smoothies and the
even back in 2010, 2008, 2011, like the YouTube footage, the videos you guys were putting out. It was so much further ahead of the game than what anyone else was doing. And like for blokes like us that were new to off-road racing, like we just, I used to watch them non-stop.
Yeah, they were good. He did a real good job with that.
Real good job. Shout out to Huddy.
Yeah,
where are you, dog?
I don't know, exactly right. His dog. Yeah, so there we go.
So again, for everyone, Huddy was meant to be here and have a chat. We wanted to talk to him about navigating for this Hellman. So, anyway, mate. So it's been an absolute pleasure.
I appreciate it,
and we'll get you back on another one.
Definitely, we'll do it again over our way.
It'll be good.
Well, that's the other thing, mate. Before you because you are sort of the unofficial mayor of Alice Springs as well. We need you to get a petition going for Bojangles to come back. What's going on?
Trust me.
We'll sign straight up.
Trust me. We tried. That's a stuff up, isn't it? But anyway, but it's good.
Luckily, I was going to say, Lucky Sporties is still a watering hole, and there's plenty other watering holes around. So, there's plenty of options. So if you get to Finke, you come on out and again, Thursday night street party, which will, Friday night prologue. Scrutineering.
Yep.
Saturday prologue. Monday racing, and we are on. It'll be all live and it'll all be action.
It certainly will be. It's good. Can't wait.
Cheers, legend. Thank you.
Cheers, boys.